Hello all and welcome to the Mug Life DIY. I am Julia and I am so excited that you decided to stop by my channel. Jumping right into project number one, I took one of these Dollar Tree fall signs that said the happy fall and removed the back. After I removed the back, I just took my favorite scrapbooking paper that I got at Michael's. This was one of the, I'm trying to think, their monthly or weekly deals that they have the specials on, and I just love this pack. It's very kind of minimalistic in the colors and very boho, so I was excited about that. So I took this black and white pattern and traced out the back side of that little frame, cut it out, and you already know what we're going to do next. We're going to take our water spritzer bottle, yep. We're going to take our water spritzing bottle and lightly spritz the paper just so it forms and fits to the back of the frame very well. Then we're going to take our Mod Podge and we are going to add that as well. And once we do that, we're going to add a few little Dollar Tree embellishments. I found this little wooden pack of little signs that all have the fall related sayings. This one I really loved. It said the Hello Autumn, and I found it in the fall section, like with all of the other crafting items, and they had a lot of these little decals. So hopefully you guys can find these things. My Dollar Trees have had a lot of overwhelming fall things, so I just went ahead and picked everything up. I'm taking my bronze acrylic paint, which is one of my favorite colors. I've done several DIYs with them, and this is from Apple Barrel, and I just lightly put it on the bottom section because I want to go for a two-tone look on this time. So I just painted the first layer all on the bottom and then left the hello section a different color. So originally I did decide to do my Waverly wax. Is that what it's called? Antique wax? Yes. I originally did the antique wax, but at the end when I was placing it, I wasn't a fan of it, so I did change my mind at the very end. But I just want to show you two different options that you could do if you really do love this Waverly wax. Don't worry, I'm going to be using it in a different project, but I did want to try it at least. So then I just placed my little backing wow, I am mumbling over my words. I placed the back side of that frame back into the frame. Wow, you can see what I did. And I decided I just thought it was a little bit too plain and it blended in. So as I said, I changed my mind halfway through it. I took another little Dollar Tree embellishment, which was one of these really cute forest green trucks. And I'm not quite sure what other things you could do with them. I feel like they had a red truck or maybe a blue truck. I can't remember, but I love the dark green. I did another DIY last year or the year before with a green. So I grabbed the green and I scraped off all of the glitter and I hot glued it to a tumbling tower block. And as you see, I was not a fan of that brown. I just didn't think it stood out enough. So I did end up painting it black. And the last part I had to do on the sign was glue everything down. So I wanted the little green. I wanted the little green truck down at the bottom and then the Hello Autumn right above it. And then I just centered it and hot glued it all together. And here is how the finished little sign turned out. This is so easy and it was so fun to make, and I definitely like adding the little touches of fall decor to my gallery walls, and I think this was a fun project to make. And moving right on to our second Dollar Tree fall DIY is this really cute ceramic, almost, it's really heavy, this little 3-tier pumpkin. Now, I'm not doing any oranges, I know, heaven forbid, in my fall decor this year. So I did a first base coat of my white acrylic paint and I covered it all pretty nicely with a thick coat, let that completely dry, and then I began up at the very top. I painted the stem and the greenery a black color because I wanted a more modern farmhouse for the top section, and I'm actually going to show you what I originally thought I wanted and ended up changing my mind. I thought it looked a little bit too farmhouse, not so much modern farmhouse. So you could see how this would look if you decided to go with a more modern, a farmhouse look. After I painted everything white, I went in with my black acrylic paint and then just started tracing the letters back. And I thought it was cute. It just isn't my personal decor style, so it's kind of a fun, just kind of see how it looks, even though I didn't go with it. Also, if you don't enjoy painting as much as I do, using a really fine point Sharpie black pen would work as well. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I would love to hear which one of these 3 projects is your favorite. And it was about at this time, you can definitely see I looked at it with my hands and wasn't a fan. And I ended up changing it. So I did 3 different color variations. I did a light gray, a medium gray, and then I did a blackish gray, or almost black. It had a little bit of white in there, but it was mostly black on the very bottom. And I really like how this ombre pumpkin kind of thing looked. And you'd be surprised at how it covered up the kind of carved in letters very well. I'm not sure if I just painted it so thick that it covered it, but I definitely noticed you could not see the words at all when I painted it. And also, because of these darker colors, this little pumpkin could seasonally change for Halloween as well, so I thought that was a nice little bonus. Now, this 3rd project is probably my favorite project that I've done, which is this really cute little Dollar Tree wooden truck. Now, I actually bought this several months ago, and it wasn't in the fall section. It was just in the craft section. So hopefully you guys can find this little truck. Now, on the first side, I painted the entire front black. Then I painted all of the edges, and on the inside black as well. So both sides I completely painted with my black acrylic paint and gave it a nice thick coat. Now on the other side, which is going to be the fall side and the front side, I just painted the truck portion black. I didn't paint the little railing yet, so you're gonna see what I do with that, but I just gave everything a nice thick coat of the black, and I also painted the back side as well. But I'm just going to show you how I stain that little top section. I took my Waverly gel stain and lightly coated it with my paintbrush, and it just gave it a nice warm wood tone, so I thought that was super cute, and I thought it popped against the black color. I also have a playlist of all my other truck crafts, so if you love all things trucks, you can check that out in my description box and also linked in my card. Now, this is probably my favorite part when I am doing any of my trucks. The little details and the highlights with the white, it just makes your truck look less flat and it gives it some dimension. So I'm taking a really fine brush and I am just kind of going around the fenders and the bottom section of the tire rims and the wheels, and I'm just adding that white paint just to kind of accent and give that dimension and highlight. Now, because I wanted this to look like a vintage truck, my favorite go-to is Mod Podge and Cinnamon. The cinnamon acts as a rust color and it really kind of pops off of any kind of craft that I'm doing. So I've used it in several of my DIYs, but I just sprinkle it right over top where I want it. I added a little bit of Mod Podge with my fine point brush, but you can also use the cinnamon over top any wet paint, but mine had already dried. So I did add a little bit of extra Mod Podge around the fenders and the bottom where I'm going to add the running board. The next step in our building out our truck is just kind of giving it a full finished form. So I took one of my building blocks and glued it to the bottom section, and after I hot glued that, it wasn't quite even to that bottom section, so I did have to add a little bit of a popsicle craft stick to kind of level it out. I took one of my Dollar Tree jumbo popsicle sticks and laid that to the bottom section. To finish it off, I added my black acrylic paint just to give it an overall finished look, because I really wanted it, if you pick this truck up from any side, to have an overall finished look. The next step that I did was the top part of the truck bed. Now, you wouldn't have to add this top part, but with the little pumpkins that I found at the Dollar Tree, they wouldn't have been seen if I didn't add this little top layer. I have seen other little hay bales and things like that, but this is the route I ended up going. I just took another one of those jumbo popsicle sticks, hot glued it down, and painted it black to match. We are going to add another tumbling tower black to that front section and do the same process and add the jumbo craft stick, measured it out to the size of the front of the truck, and glued that down as well. Now I wanted something to round out the front hood or the grill of the truck, so I took one of the end pieces of my jumbo craft sticks and I'm going to glue that to the other part of the craft stick that I already cut. I know it doesn't make sense, but I am going to kind of bend it at an angle. Now the first time that I tried it, I didn't add anything to the back and it just flopped down. So I took some glue to the back and glued it, and then I also grabbed actually I think it was part of the jumbo tumbling tower box, and then I just cut down a little section and glued that to the inside, so it held it from the back side and it gave it a little bit of support. So you can always use anything and everything to craft with. So I just cut down another part of the tag or the box, I don't even remember, down to the bottom section, and I glued that down as well. So the entire part of the truck will be completely encased, and it just gives it an overall finished look. So I just kind of cut it down and bent it to the size until it was the right size and glued it down. Then I painted it with my black acrylic paint. And because I had the leftover tumbling tower box and I really liked the thickness of the cardboard, I decided to make the top side of the truck with it as well. So I just started bending each section to fit each side, and I would bend it and kind of roughly measure, and then I cut it down to the size that I needed. Now, after I roughly measured out the size of the top of the truck, I honestly could not find my crafting straight blade, so I had to get real creative and kind of used my Cricut scissors because they were the sharpest ones I had. And I'm kind of just lightly going over it just to kind of create a line for me to cut. Then I would push through with my scissors until I had a little bit of a hole, and I would fit these itty bitty little crafting scissors, and I just kind of cut out the rectangular shape of the windshield. So it would be much easier if you actually did have a straight blade. You could do this, a crafting knife, whatever you call it, utility knife. I feel like there's so many different names. So I did that for the front and the back windshield, and then I glued it down on all of the sides. The hardest was that little back section, so I did have to actually add hot glue to the piece of cardboard itself, not just the little wooden truck. So you can see I just added a few little dots and pushed it all down and set it in place. And after everything was dry, I began painting the top and on the inside all my black acrylic paint just to give it a complete and finished look. Now I took one of these Dollar Tree wooden skewers and cut it down to size, and I just thought it needed a little something extra on the front of the hood. So I added that down and of course painted it all with my black acrylic paint. And I did add a few other little touches here and there. One was the running board at the very bottom. So I used that same skewer and just glued it down. And like I said, I really like how it adds a little bit extra dimension and depth to the little truck, and I love the little wooden decals and details. They're always my favorite part of all of my truck crafts. Now, my normal go-to for my hubcaps is always a beer bottle cap. But that would have been the entire size of this little tire, so I had to think a little bit outside the box. Now, I had just bought this massive cork board messaging board from Hobby Lobby. And I put up these little Dollar Tree push pins that I had found, and they are rather large, but I wanted to just kind of test out and see if it would fit, and lo and behold, they did. Now this is the other side, the back side, that I also forgot to kind of paint, so I'm touching that up. So what I had to end up doing was kind of glue around the outside edge of that push pin to make it stick to it, because it actually did fit completely perfectly all the way through there. And then once I had it kind of sticking to the tire itself, I flipped it over and glued a lot of glue on the inside, and so that kind of set it up. And so I did it for all 4 tires. I would glue the outside little edge and kind of barely tap it in, and it created a really cute hubcap. I absolutely love this. And then, like I said, just added a butt ton of hot glue on the back side. Now, I did want to mention this because I actually don't know if I recorded it. I added a layer of Mod Podge to each of my little push pins. And then after that completely dried, I started painting, and I am completely out of gray paint. So I just kind of created my own with a little bit of white from my little 3-tiered pumpkin, and then slowly just kind of added and stippled the paint together, and it mixed really nicely, and it created kind of like that chrome effect. Definitely looked worn down and rusted. And I just really love the end result of how mixing the colors on the actual project turned out. And I was having so much fun doing all of these really small details that I've never gone this far, that I even created some little lug nuts. Yes, I did a 5 pattern, if you're wondering. And I just used the tip side of that little, what was it? A dowel, a skewer, whatever. It's those really skinny ones that you find not in the craft section, but in the kitchen section, like if you're making shish kebabs, you know, all that jazz. And I thought the hood of the car, it just needed a little bit of rust. So I added a little bit of Mod Podge and sprinkled that as well on the top. And as I said, I was going for it. And I thought this little vintage truck definitely needed a windshield wiper. So I took that same little skewer that there wasn't much left to it and glued that down, and added another pop for the handle. Used the same little skewer and cut it down and glued it down. Now, I don't know how, I just kept kind of adding and going, and I was just having so much fun. I've never actually made anything so small before, but I actually really enjoyed it. I know my friend Melissa, on her channel, she makes a lot of these little minis, and they are just so adorable. So I will have her channel with one of the little minis that she makes that I just, you know, I was like, hey, I'm going to try this. So I made little rear view mirrors. Yes, I used the tips of the little skewers that were pointy and glued it to a piece of cardboard that I cut out in the shape of the mirror. So I kind of just did a long rectangle with a little circle up at the top. Now I can say they are not the same size, but you won't see both of the sides at the same time, so it didn't really bother me necessarily that they weren't the same size. But I really think these extra little details are just so adorable and really make this project. So then all I had to do was add in my little plaid pumpkins, which I did get from the Dollar Tree and I absolutely love. I think they're so fun, and just added them to the back side of the truck. And here's how my final 2 projects turned out. I really love them, and I will definitely be keeping them out a lot longer, probably till the end of Thanksgiving. I really love the truck. I love all things trucks, and I'm obsessed with this 3-toned colored ombre, whatever you want to call it, stacked pumpkin. I love everything, and I hope you guys were inspired as well, and that you will craft and try to recreate these projects. Thanks for watching, and I hope all of you guys will check out my next video that I post next week. Thanks, guys.